What if nobody is coming to validate you? And what if you're seeking permission from other people is the reason why you aren't taking action in the areas that you know deep down you want to? For those of you who don't know me and don't know my story on a personal level, I was raised by my mum on a council estate in Birmingham. Mum and dad broke up before I was born. And at an unconscious level, for pretty much most of my adult life, I'm 42 years old at the time of doing this video, I have pretty much sought permission, validation, approval, positive affirmation, reinforcement. Go Miles, you can do it. From pretty much everybody around me for my whole freaking life. And the scariest thing is it's probably only been the past few years that I've really recognized that consciously. Now, one thing I've observed about people like me is this isn't necessarily something that is easy to admit first, right? Not easy for me to admit that. And also what I found is, as I've come to this realization, it's felt a bit like a bit of an ego death, right? So for example, one of the types of people, if you're anything like me and this relates and it resonates, and one of the things I've noticed about myself is I have had a almost unhealthy relationship with a particular type of masculine role model. For example, I'm in the personal development space. I do a lot of events. I'm doing an event today in Hereford. And I've observed over the past 10 years that I have seeked out either mentors or men that are maybe a little bit older who've achieved what I perceive to be 3D real world success. And what's really interesting is most of them, I haven't sought them out for their knowledge as much as I've sought them out for their approval of me. So I can think of one particular mentor who I seeked out because, without mentioning names, he had a skill that I didn't have, and I very clearly could see I need that skill, right? So that's different. But I notice, and I'm aware I'm in this space a lot, so I see it. But I know that there is a lot of mentors that I've seeked out in the past who I probably didn't even need, right? I've invested money in programs and masterminds, probably people that I maybe didn't even need, but I wanted because I wanted their approval and their validation. And to some extent, this might be a little bit controversial. I might contradict myself a little bit with what I'm about to say. But to some extent, I don't think that's a bad thing, because we've all got needs. We've all got needs. We've all got wants. We've all got desires, and we've all got human needs, right? If you're familiar with Tony Robbins and his work, Tony Robbins talks a lot about human needs. We've all got human needs, right? One of those needs is significance. And for as long as I can remember, significance has been like the driving need for me. So what I've come to realize is, if we, as I have, seek out mentors in the way that I have, all I've really been doing is trying to meet the need of significance. So in one respect, that's totally fine, because it's like, well, it makes sense. You're trying to meet a need. But on the other hand, what often happens is, has happened with me, going back to the original point about what if no one's going to validate you, is, interestingly enough, I've noticed that some of those mentors have given me the validation that I've sought. Some of them haven't. Here's where it gets really interesting. The ones who have given me the validation, it hasn't actually made any difference, which is the craziest part, right? I'll give you an example. One of my mentors, who I've sought out the approval of more than most, Tony Robbins, right? Tony Robbins, went to his event years ago, read his book, was blessed and honoured that I actually got to deliver some events on behalf of one of his kind of promotional partners to help him fill his events. That was an honour, right? And then a few years ago, my flies aren't done. You needed to know that, didn't you? A few years ago, I was on an event with Tony Robbins, and I got the opportunity to speak to Tony. And the first thing I said, I went all fangirl and said, "Oh, Tony, you changed my life. Thank you. You're amazing," all this kind of stuff. Only for Tony to say immediately, right, with no hesitation, "Thank you, Miles, for the compliment. Really appreciate it. Lovely. I'm glad my work could help you. Really glad that it's made a significant difference on your life. But I just want to reiterate," which I say to everybody who says this kind of thing, "you did the work. I didn't. But thank you again for the compliment." To which I exited the conversation and maybe felt warm and fuzzy inside for about 5 minutes, maybe a bit longer than that, maybe a day. 2 days later, I'm back to seeking validation and approval of other people again, right? So my point is this: nobody is going to validate you. You have to do that yourself. Because if, in my instance, the greatest person I could ever possibly imagine in my industry and space validates me, and it's still not enough, then that means we've got no hope. And what I mean by no hope is we've got no hope if we think that somebody outside of ourselves is going to make us feel what we want to feel. That for me was proof. And yet what's interesting is I still didn't learn the lesson. That was about 3 years ago. Still didn't learn the lesson. Still been another 3 years. And to some extent, I'm still doing it now. But the difference is I'm aware of the pattern. It's glaringly obvious to me now. I'm still going to contradict myself. I'm still going to seek out mentors. I'm still going to seek the validation and the approval of other people. Partly I'm doing it by doing this video. There's an unconscious part of me that's hoping that someone likes this, that comments on it, that tells me this is great, that tells me I'm great. The difference is now I'm able to see it and recognize it, and I'm willing to admit that's part of me. That's part of who I am. But if I rely on you, if I rely on other people to tell me that I'm great, that this is great, then I'm just caught in this constant loop and cycle of needing other people to tell me that I'm good. And the truth is, I don't need anybody to tell me, and you don't need anybody to tell you. You got to tell yourself. You got to tell yourself.